Yeah,
Let me put blow one up. Here we go. Like
that's a
kind
good
of
one.
like this right here. Yeah.
Okay, now they catch some of them in warfare and kill them, take their wolf pelts off, and when they go back to tell them what they look like, they remember these is dirty Moors we talking about, blood
Right.
sucking Jews. So they telling their brethren from their vampire club that they look like kin. And lichen became the reference to
Mm-hmm.
those ones with the dark skin and woolly hair that was the ones that wear the wolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
To distinguish them from the lighter tribes like these who had the similar practice. Some of them was the Coyote tribe, the Fox clan, right? Those tribes that use the fox as the totem, the gopher as the totem, and the groundhog, they all was mining
Right.
families. Them was they tribal symbol. The trappers used to use the beaver as their symbol. When you look on some of the old seals from around Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, you see a lot of beaver and otter, not otter, beaver and muskrat symbols on the old stuff. That was because those was the tribes that was trading in that, and that was their total. Remember, they
Mm-hmm.
came over for fur. Before they ever discovered
Mm-hmm.
gold, they came for fur.
So it's similar
You
to
see?
like the feathers barnet, wall barnet, but this right here just a certain tribe that wore the wolf on their
Right,
head.
right. Now this tribe might be
Mm-hmm.
standing there talking to another tribal leader that have the full war binding.
Yep.
And it might be another tribal leader standing there with this big gigantic afro, big tookie
Right.
looking dude. And
Yep.
they sitting there talking war strategy from three different
Okay.
parts of the land. Well, so when you go to the migrations, right, in the
Mm-hmm.
migration periods, they got what's called the Great Southwest Migration of Natives. Look
Mm-hmm.
at the years of the Southwest migration. You'll see that they was the same contemporary years as the Gullah War.
Right.
Southeast, my bad, not Southwest, Southeast. Everybody was going to Florida. I'm like, why in the hell was we all going to Florida?
Mm-hmm.
So then I go study Florida history, Seminoles,
Right.
the Seminoles, right? And then they saying that runaway slaves. Them ain't no runaway slaves. They was soldiers coming from different tribes.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
right.
this is why the look of the Seminoles was so varied. This is where we was going to fight, all the way up into North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
On the southeastern shoreboard, we were being attacked by the conquistadors.
Right.
In the Gulf, we were being attacked by the French Huguenots, which is the same as a conquistador. He just speaks French instead of Spanish.
Vampires.
Right. Now, they was using the bloodletting rituals because it put the people in a stupor.
Go ahead.
And then to keep them in a frenzy, and they can't never figure out why because the blood ritual is done in secret.
Right.
So, what's the rules of war? First blood, blood in, blood out.
Right.
Who's the first blood spilt in the American Revolution?
Average Crispus, what his name is, the dude that they wrote
Crispus Attucks.
the Crispus
At
Attucks.
first, they used to tell us he was a Negro.
Right.
But when we started digging into his history, we found out he was indigenous, organic to the land,
Go ahead.
right? So now, where will we find his blood if it had to be in a contract written in the first blood? Because they have to keep it in our minds that the first blood spilled was his,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what would they do with his blood?
Write up the contract.
Write up the contract. That's the principles of the Babylonian blood magic system. Once they write it in his blood, they rewriting a new constitution similar to the existing constitution,
Mm-hmm.
and then they make the switch,
Okay.
right? The switch takes place when the old constitution was out of Philadelphia. The new constitution will be controlled by the Brotherhood out of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So where will we find this constitution? If you look at the constitution in the George Washington Memorial, you will see that it's rusty color writing, which was the fading signature of the blood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the life of the contract was a 200-year contract to keep us in the stupor, and we had to educate ourselves out the condition.
Mm-hmm.
The Rothschild said how they was going to stop us from being able to educate ourselves out the condition and know who we is and where the land we from and the people we fighting this conflict with, these conquistadors and these Huguenots, right? We gonna all be under one catch term.
Right.
So you got an indigenous catch term, which is Cherokee. This is for all of the varying different tribes, people adopted by the three main tribes of the Cherokee Nation. So they adopting whole families. And they need a catch tribe, a catch term, a term that catch under one banner. And this is why you got every complexion talk about their Cherokee. Okay, now, the next catch term would be the chiefs, which would be take their war bonnets off, right? Take their animal skins off, cut their afros off. Then you take the fezzes off, you take the turbans off, and then you give them all amnesia. And then you tell them to figure it out from there. The playing field is level when they gave everybody amnesia. So now somebody got to come along and wake the gods up that's been put to sleep with this conjure, which is all they really mean is wake up the chiefs of the land to reincarnate at a different time to overcome the obstacle.
Right.
But the term that they use is gods to indicate that the chiefs is more than the people. But that ain't how we see it. Ain't no big eyes and no little you. The chief is the chief because he wanted the people.
Right.
He ain't the chief because he better than the people. He the chief because he wanted the people.
The people's chief.
Yeah. He family.
Right.
He comes to anybody's house and break bread.
That's right.
Right? He can spend the night anywhere on the land without having his own designated house.
That's right. That's right.
Because all of the people be glad to have the chief come spend the night over here. Come spend a couple of days over here.
Right.
Right? So the chief is not the chief because he's better than the people. The chief is the chief because he wanted the people. And that he's shown himself to be capable of be recognized by the people as the chief.
Right.
You don't get the term by presidential order like the Dawes Roll was doing. Under the Dawes Roll, the president, if he wanted to negotiate a treaty, could declare somebody with no Indian blood, no native blood, no organic blood. He'd just declare him the chief and then sign contracts with him as if he one of us.
Right.
And we fell for it for a long time.
Right.
But like Johnny Cash said, you can run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. But sooner or later, I'm going to cut you down.
Right.
Right? So now, over the course of time, we start waking up because they was improperly maintaining the blood oath. And it caused the War of 1812. The
Okay.
War 1812 gave the devil an extension,
Mm-hmm.
meaning the enemies that came and waged war against us, now they got an extension because we start going to bloody war with them,
Go ahead.
right? So when they get their extension, this is when you have Prince Hall emerging because he understands that they'll never tell us what they're doing to us. And he recognizing the tribal um, teaching tools that they're using to wake up certain people and keep other people asleep. Most
Mm-hmm.
notable thing they was doing is called sacrifice transfer. What the heck is the sacrifice transfer? It worked like this. You come to me, young elder, you got mediocre skills or pretty good skills,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's the guy on the charts that's bar none the coldest to ever do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you get a contract with me to sacrifice him and promote you to his
Mm-hmm.
position,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we come up with a plan. We set up a strategy that you be the next representation of that energy in order for you to get to the top of the charts,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So we take him out, blood sacrifice, blood in, blood out. Now the blood is on my hands, so you have to do the deeds according to the black hand tactic.
Great goat.
Yeah. So
Sacrifice the
now
innocent. Yeah.
the only thing I can do is make sure that I honor my contract with you by doing everything in my skill set to make you as big of an artist, right? So, because I got the blood on my hands. So now I got to perform my part of the duty, but you also obligated to perform yours. And part of your obligation is whatever the secret oath agreement that you make. Only you know what it's going to be because it's going to be something that they can use to bring you down if you get too big for your britches.
Hey, I got a good question for you, Raw, because I watched a series of Underworld, and they kind of like
Mm.
they you know how they do in these movies. They kind of like show our story in these movies in subliminal ways. They give you the pieces to the story. So like in the movie, they had the vampires where they went by a certain bloodline that came down, right? And we consider them as the conquistadors, the black hand, pretty much that Yaku put together, the Yaku scientists, and then they frontmans, right? They became their children. But then the Larkins or the vampires, they had their own underground bloodline on this side. So I guess what I'm saying is, at one point it seemed like they was working with the vampires, and then a war broke
Look,
out. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
all war is based on deception. I mean, out the gate, somebody about to tell a lie, or else you're not going to have a war. Sun Tzu say all war is based on deception. Karl von Clausewitz wrote in his treatise on war is a political extreme act of violence, right?
Yeah.
So politically, war is used to wreak violence upon the people to push an agenda. In other words, might makes right. Now they have to conceal it in a velvet glove. They told us we won the Civil War. I ain't had nothing to do with the people fighting in the Civil War. My people was in Mississippi. We were no ways near no Gettysburg Address or none of that. Not Gettysburg Address, that Proclamation of Emancipation bull smack. They decrees and they announcements and they colonization orders. They impose themselves on the Louisiana territories after the Lewis and Clark expedition. They were surveying the land because all of the chiefs going southeast to fight the Gullah War. And Lewis and Clark is going north and west on purpose. When they discovered that we were sending support from all across the land, they backdoored us, which led to DeSoto sailing around South America, coming up on Pacific to start that part of the war. We know they was conquistadors because they mark is left in the language. So we know they came from Spain. And they look like us, they ain't us.
Hey, I got another question for you that ties into that because I write them written down on my notepad. How do Hades? Because Kodak Black with the Trump thing and him pardoning Kodak Black. Somebody told me that there was some connection with him helping doing something in Hades, and we know that the French, and this all ties in. We know that the vampires came down on the French, and it was a war that ensued between the witches and warlocks. That's what they call them, and they said they performed voodoo or whatever, what have you on them. How does that war connect with the total man? Because they say, oh, we got attacked by a whole bunch of gorillas, or they turned into gorillas, or they turned into the dead, or you know what I'm saying? They attacked us. What's Hades' connection with the Louisiana Purchase? Because I know the French did that in the
Okay,
French.
so first of all, you got to know why the Huguenots left. Why did the French give the protectorate agreement to the English? They had to lose 2 out of 3 conflicts. You only got 3 chances to win a territory in warfare. First one they lost was Toussaint L'Ouverture. The second one they lost was the Bloody River Run with Chief Pontiac. Right? Now, we going through the reenactment now. Because Divine Insight, Rashad Jamal, is Toussaint. He had to be in the captivity of the Louisiana Territory. The same as Toussaint was in the custody of the French. While we unravel the contract backwards. So Chief Pontiac was the second to defeat him. And what was the next thing they did? They went to Italy and built the Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower is a homonym to mark the location of what's known as the Paris Accord. We'll come back to that. And the same architect that designed the Eiffel Tower designed Lady Liberty. Now, there's 2 clues in that. Lady Liberty is a drag queen, first and foremost. It's a drag queen of the Roman depiction of the character you call Lucifer. Right? Lucifer in Rome is a man. Right? But in the Babylonian history, Lucifer was the light bringer of the wisdom of the ages that could wake the people up. And Lucifer was the angel of light. Right? But what ended up happening is they have to character assassinate the ones that's supposed to help us and exalt the ones who came to conquer us. So we discover Yahweh is Enlil, right? And Enlil is the one who was in the Anunnaki tablets that claimed he was going to conquer the earth realm from Inanna. So we know it's already written, right? So now in the wars of the gods, how does this involve people, men? Because we the toy soldiers that they use to play out their family conflicts so that they don't ever get caught in the wrath. Right? So while they playing out these war games, they're using social engineering strategies to control how the masses move. And then they don't have to worry about the individual. One drop don't change the current. in the raging river. So they don't care if one person wake up. It's when multiple of us start understanding how it works because it loses its grip upon the knowledge and awareness of what's being done in the dark being brought to the light, right? So we just tell them what's being done, and the side effect of that is if they begin to understand how it works, it unlocks the psychological chains of miseducation.
Now this is the big question right here, Rod. This is the big one.
Mhm.
And everybody like because I've been taking them down because they've been saying, man, ask Rod this next time he come on, you know. Now that Donald Trump has won the imaginary illusion, the fiction, because it's fiction, it's always been fiction.
Mhm.
It's always played out in fiction because it's corpse, right? Now that Trump is getting ready to closing it completely out. What do you see taking place as far as the people? Because people was asking about the Social Security. They was asking, man, what about my pension? You know, they still saying the same thing they was saying when they left Pharaoh. They don't want to leave Pharaoh. So all these things they
This,
saying
this,
as the transition happening. Okay, go ahead.
listen. People are uncomfortable with a change that they don't know how it's going to affect their day to day life. When they see the changes coming, the uneasiness part of the change comes in with, oh Lord, how am I going to pay my bill? First of all, ain't going to be no bill. The government is responsible for the basic needs of the people in relation to technological advances being made ready for the public to use. And the energy companies have been harvesting mostly free energies and using um, taxation of the free energies in order to charge you, like the cleaning of the water. They got to clean the water because they poisoned it. When they came out of here, it wasn't a body of fresh water you couldn't drink out of without getting sick.
That's right.
Since they've been over here, you can't drink out of nothing. You got to follow the horse and wait for him to drink so he can tell you where the good water at, right? So they put the purification plants in. Now that they can put a value based upon per gallons filtered per minute. They know how much it costs them in energy output to filter this much water per minute. So they put the markup, what they call the profit margin on there. Once the profit margin, it adjusts the price, and now they know how much if they sold water in the store a gallon should cost. So if it costs them a penny, you're gonna pay $1. If it costs them 2 pennies, you're gonna pay $2.
Dang.
Right? So we gotta buy Dasani, we gotta buy Ice Mountain, all that shit fountain water. They tell you it's spring water, they be lying.
Yep. Damn. I done taste real spring water down south, down here in the well, out the well. It's
Hmm.
it's way more heavier than that spring water they telling. Got way more
And it's
minerals.
sweet,
Yep, that's right. And it come out the ground cold.
cold and sweet. But look, it ain't so much about the spring water. They got springs on the mechanics that they using to filter the water. They
They
machines got springs in it, so I guess that make it spring water.
boy, they cold. Yeah, you can't even drink out the faucet, man. They so it's so chlorine, so much chlorine in it. And so they said that they was gonna take over the water supplies. And I
Hmm.
remember talking to when I was in New Mexico, I remember talking to one of the chiefs of the Navajos, and he said that before they came, that you could take a cup and scoop like that off the top, off of the river, and just drink it. He said that now you can't even do that because they pumping all the pollution straight into the river. Now, a river do clean itself every certain amount of feet or whatever, but
Yeah,
they
but
still get pumped.
you got a certain amount of stuff you can put in it that it take too long to clean itself before it accumulates to deadly levels. That's what happened to the Ohio River.
Right, go ahead.
You know, and it's a couple more of them where the toxins. There's one out there in Chicago by the steel plant, uh, Fox Lake, where they dumping that shit in there. The lake was so polluted, fish had sores on them. They had to call EPA to clean the river, the lake. The lake huge. The lake, man, look, you can fit about 100 football fields on the lake, and you still won't touch the land. It might not be Fox, it might be Wolf Lake. Big old huge lake going from here to Chicago. They had polluted it with the steel mills over there. And some of the lakes used to catch on fire. Like one in Detroit called River Rouge.
Yeah.
They had polluted it so much with the factories and mills up there, iron mills.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, they had polluted the water to catch on fire. The gas is burning off the top.
That brought me to my next question, because we did a tape on organic wars on the land. Now, the tornadoes and the floods of certain areas, the blowing of dams and levees down in New Orleans, in the certain quarters. Now, what are they? Now, these corporative guys, or these black hand guys. What do you think? Is Trump after these? Is Trump gonna be after these guys to get these guys off our land and promoting? Like, is he part? I know he part of something.
Listen, let me go over current events, and that might give us. Okay, so you know they've been doing what's called medium disclosure by using congressional hearings to expose this big old ship that they can't hardly hide no more. That's hovering right outside of the atmosphere. Sometime it ducked behind the moon so you can't see it, but it's huge.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, and so and it got a dark cloaking device where it can pixelate from all of the dark around it to make it look like it ain't there.
Yeah.
But you'll see a big spot on the sky because it's sitting right there. So they trying to act like they disclosing it. We ain't got to hard disclosure yet. This is medium disclosure.
Right.
First, they was doing soft disclosure, saying that the Pentagon releasing these reports. Okay, now, on the heels of that, the Schumann resonance gave a massive response on election day, which means that they got a massive download from solar ray, right? And it answered. So now we looking for a major solar flash to come in any day now. That's going to make the Earth Schumann resonance purge itself from all parasites that don't belong.
Go ahead.
Whether they in the microscopic world or the macroscopic world, it won't matter. Like mosquitoes might not be here no more. It's actually a parasite.
Go ahead.
But it won't be here no more if the Earth and the people in the sun agree.
Go ahead.
Right? If all three of them agree, when the energy comes through, because it's getting the feedback from the sentient beings on the planet through the mitochondrial resonance.
Go ahead.
That means that the women is co-creating the next reality with the sun and the earth right now.
Right.
While that's taking place, we having political satire playing out in DC, and watch what happens. Within 24 hours of Trump getting elected, almost everybody said they want to talk about world peace.
Right. That's fast. It's a lot of people call it white flag, waving the flag, man.
We talking so-called terrorist groups calling in saying we want to have a sit down with Trump, all the way to leaders of countries like Putin and Zelensky.
Right.
We ain't paying this no attention because we caught up in the satire and we mostly focus on the theatrical performances of Hollywood's elite in their final fall and their total destruction of their empire.
Go ahead.
Everything has to fall that we thought was great, but was actually wicked behind the scenes.
Go ahead.
All of it got to go. So recently it came out in the last 24 hours that, excuse me, Trump said he's going to be using the military um, to deport immigrants.
Right.
Judges and lawyers are foreign agents. Remember me telling you that. Judges, lawyers, and anybody that call themselves police, Baltimore police, Philadelphia police, they're all under contract with the Crown of England,
Right.
and most of them have been given sufficient notice to resign. They are the enemy of the state now. Just
Right.
like they did us. Now it's our turn to do it to them, but we ain't
Right.
gonna do shit. We gonna let our military do it because that's what they here for.
Right.
This is why a couple weeks ago, um, they had this executive order issued saying that they can use the military, can use deadly force in support of the local law enforcement,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which in this case is going to end up being the National Guard and local sheriff departments because the sheriff is elected by, right? But he's picked by general consensus of the impression given to the people,
Right.
right? So the qualifications to enforce the law, all of them state troopers, those are all state troopers.
Highwaymen.
All state troopers are Canadian Mounties,
Pirates.
Canadian Mounted Police, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. That's who the state troopers are.
Go
Look
ahead.
at their hats,
That's right. Go ahead, Rod.
and they doing the same job. They just working for. All of them are working for foreign agents. The only ones that think they're working for us is the sheriff,
Right.
the U.S. Marshal, supposed to be that's appointed by the president,
Right.
right? But U.S. Marshal was picked from duly elected sheriffs,
That's right.
right? So that means that the people's will is more important than the corporate desires of a foreign legal entity that's trying to control the people on the land. Once we understand what's going on, crime just gonna stop.
Right.
It's just gonna stop because people gonna be like, hold up, wait a minute,
They just getting paid off
right?
of
it
it.
won't be financially lucrative anymore. And it will be socially ostracized for you to do that to the point of the natural nature of the human will come back to the forefront, leading with love, but mastering the throat punch.
Hey, Rod, may I add a ping right here? Cause and you can go in on this. I noticed that the FBI can't really arrest you. Every time the FBI come, they bring the sheriff with them, and the sheriff arrests you. Not the FBI. The FBI can't even arrest you. Did you know that? The
So
FBI.
they got policing powers. They used to didn't when they was first formed. They didn't have policing powers. They didn't even used to carry guns,
Yeah, go ahead.
right? But under the 1933 Warring with the Peoples Act, they was giving them um, policing powers and issue firearms.
Go ahead.
Like Elliot Ness didn't have a gun. They was just pencil pushers and paper pushers back then. They used to call them G-men,
Go ahead. Yep, I remember. Go
right?
ahead.
So they was given federal policing powers as a federal investigative agency, and they made it a federal investigative agency in order to be able to put more resources into the development of crime scene analysis, psycho and social analysis of people. All of this dirt that they've been doing that they needed the access to the public funding to get that, and without the policing powers to support the state fraud, they couldn't have it. Remember, a license is permission to do something that's wrong, that's illegal.
Hey, say that again for him, Rod.
A license is permission to do something that's illegal. Your
Damn.
ID and your driver's license are slave papers in the modern times. You just don't know it. It's not that we opposed to have an ID because it makes sense for a functional um, government to have communication with each other and exchanging the goods and services. ID, but it shouldn't be controlled by people that's trading the application as a bond on the secret market, right? So that's where the problem come in. If the money is going to be made off your ID, you should be the one making it. Government shouldn't be making it. You should,
That's
especially
right.
when the government declare war on the people.
That's right. 1933. The American people are the enemy, and they get to loot whatever they collect and steal from us. They get a cut. The lawyers, the judges, all of them, whatever they take from us, they get a cut on it, and then they know they pass it up to the bar. They pass it up to the bar, which is the laws of London, but they get a kickback on it for stealing from us.
So
Pirates.
the lords are, of London is actually another gentry line of royalty, right? And they are the ones who own the insurance companies. The insurance company's model is based on lords of London. You ever hear somebody getting $1 million insurance on their leg or something like that? They go
Yeah.
to Lords of London. That's
Yeah.
because they in charge of whatever the insurance is. If you can pay the premium, and sometimes it's a one-time premium,
Yeah.
right? Why do insurance companies have you repeatedly paying on a one-time premium?
Go ahead.
They open up a Roth IRA in your name, but you don't know it. Your premiums is your add-ins to your Roth.
Go ahead.
Then they use the profit to buy interest-bearing CDs, which is cash deposits, which is like government bonds. And they pay out every so often that goes into the IRA.
Dang.
If you change insurance companies, the new insurance company becomes the one who manages this IRA. And they continue to put your auto insurance premium, life insurance premium, your house insurance premium into that Roth IRA, bearing interest, mind you. They say by the time the average person been paying insurance for 20 years, they have like a $500 million in there.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the game because it's every $10 you give them, they can make 100.
Mm-mm.
So the whole
Well,
time,
remember, they compound in interest. You got to know how the interest system works for the fractional reserve in order to that $1 to get them 100.
damn.
Because they get interest on the CD, interest on the IRA,
Yeah.
right? And being based on the classification of the account, if it's an insurance adjusted account through FDIC, that can do what's called lend notes. They writing promissory notes on bank paper in your name, sending them to the Federal Reserve to even pad it more. Because once you gone, they cash it in.
Damn, boy, these people
Nobody
dirty.
ain't here to nobody ain't here to administer your estate.
Nope. That's
You
that, that, that
gone.
that's competent. That's not
And you
incompetent.
and you left them as your executor and didn't even know it.
Yep. Yep. That's facts, man. That's another thing too, Rod. It was this hospital down here that they was doing that. They was robbing the Nubians. And what they would do is they'll figure out how much insurance they got. So they got a 700,000 insurance, right? So they say, oh yeah, this guy. They will call them in and say, oh yeah, we got to rush you into surgery, and they don't gotta be in surgery. They say, oh well, they scared the people up. They really think they got to go into surgery for something. They go in.
used that as a cover for when they was doing those sterilization surgeries too.
Damn.
They was getting paid to do them sterilization services surgeries by the government.
Damn. Yes.
They got caught. You can look it up. They got caught.
Damn.
They was doing it all through the South. They was giving girls hysterectomy as early as 12 years old.
And getting paid to do it, and they were still
getting paid to do it.
Yep, and they were still your insurance. They stole this girl organs, and then charged her like she had 700,000. They say, well, the surgery cost about around 650, so that leaves you with this, and then we had to charge for her stay and this and that, so they only leave you about $6,000 to bury her out of the 700,000. Look, and then so it's a dude that I used to work with that was the dude that got him busted. He was the dude that went around signing people every insurance, and he saw what they was doing, and he called the FBI on them, and the FBI came down on them. Eventually,
you know who the first insurance brokers was, don't you?
Who?
The lodges.
Go ahead.
The lodges and the guilds used to take burial insurance up for the members. So they always had the money to bury their brother.
That's right. Go ahead. You know what you're
right? And these became policies. Then you begin to bet on the policies. You betting on the three numbers, on the serial numbers, the last serial number of the policy. So when they pull the policy up, they get the number, and that's how you win the number, the penny numbers. All that came from the brotherhoods.
The Masons, right? Now, so yeah, I noticed that they do that.
They didn't have to be Masons. They could have been elks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have been. They could have been the Order of the Eagles.
Okay.
But then was the early insurance brokers. What happened was insurance got merged with banking.
Go ahead.
And made it into a bigger commodity. And then the policies became your state lottery.
Go ahead.
Right. So they've been trying to monetize everything we do. If they can't monetize it, they can only monetize it by making it illegal.
Go ahead.
That's why so many laws on the books. America have more laws on the books than any other country in the world, and they still making laws and lobbying to pass bills and laws.
Say, oh, you can't when you find a loophole, they make a new law to cover to patch that hole.
Yeah, that means that you're doing something wrong. You got to keep coming up with ideas to figure out how to keep doing wrong.
Damn.
But if you was doing right the whole time, you wouldn't have to worry about no loophole.
Right. Because
you would only catch them up that's doing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, you remember back in the 70s, they used to have those little skits on, and they were talking about the law, how you make a law.
Uh-huh.
Had Nipsey Russell singing on it.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
Sitting up on Capitol Hill. I hope and pray that I will, but today I am still just a bill. Right? They was telling us as children how they lobby a bill into a law.
Go ahead.
Why is that important? The word lobby. You have something called a lobbyist. Right? A lobby is a gathering place outside of a major office or office-like location.
Go ahead.
Right? So you go into the lobby in order to meet the people from the offices, and this is where they have their dinner parties.
Go ahead.
Right? And at their dinner parties, the lobbyist is flirting with the politician to push money to his campaign right, in exchange for passing this law,
Right.
right? All the time, there's a group of individuals in a Masonic lodge writing the whole bill out, 22,000 pages,
Damn.
and they got to vote on it in 6 weeks. Think about that. Can you read 22,000 pages in 6 weeks
Hell no.
and still show up to work from 9 to 5 every day?
No.
Come on, man.
So they just gonna
Because
pass
it's
without even look at reading it. They pass without
right.
even reading.
They can't read it. And then, so now they allocating all. Remember, they had a big show in the 80s. It was either 2020, 60 Minutes or Nightline, one of them news shows about government spending during the Reagan era,
Mm-hmm.
where they discovered that these mugs spent $5,000 for a single boat.
Go ahead.
They spent $250,000 for a single toilet seat. They cost $695 at the hardware store.
Go ahead.
Right. So they went over all of that. They got a whole room of people that was auditing the government's spending
Go ahead.
under the Reagan administration. Remember, Reaganomics was part of that was to minimize government spending.
Go ahead.
So he needed to know, how do you minimize it? Then they came up with something that they call it's something waste. It means that it's government waste,
Right.
right? They started calling it the fat, cutting the fat off, trimming the fat off. That means taking off the unnecessary stuff out the bill.
Uh-huh.
But you ain't got time to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, you got to come and debate the last book that was dropped off 2 months ago that y'all got to vote on this week.
Damn. Damn, that's crazy, bro.
Right? So that bill might be another 22,000 pages.
So it's
So
safe to say. Okay.
this the game they playing with us.
So it's safe to say that, like Kanye West explained, this he explained the pyramid coming down with the Masons and everything. Now these Masons, because we got the Albert Pike letter, and Albert Pike gives his. Now he a frugal lord. He look like a frugal lord to me, but and the frugal lords are Yaku's drafted
He's a
beings.
Khazarian. He's a Khazarian Jew.
Yeah, that's the frugal lords. That's what Doc said. They are the descendants of the frugal lords, and that's what Yaku's drafted beings. The Khazarians. Doc said that the Khazarians are coming from Yaku's drafted beings. They mix with the Canaanites, right? He goes on. If you watch that whole thing I just put out with Yaku, that actually was taken straight from the